Okay. Well, hello everyone. Whoever's here watching this video, I thank you for watching the video. If you have not watched my latest video, well, not this one, the one beforehand, well, anyways, today this video is going to be about the story of Lordverse. I might try and get this all in one video, but I might do different parts. Maybe 2 at max, maybe 3. But this video is about the story of Lordverse, my whole book itself. Now, I just want to explain how this came to being. I had a fatuation and love for Undertale, and different creators creating their own concept of characters. And so a part of that and doing art was me creating my own, which started as Unlimited Verse. And then I created Thornverse, Unlimited Verse, Thornverse, and then Soulverse. 3 different timelines or realms themselves. And I created gods within them. Now, this is IRL standing, but it also plays a part in how I got here into the book itself. So after a while, I decided to make all the characters I created for Unlimited Tale, Thornverse, and Soulverse all in my own official book, which led me to create the data book and create all my own concepts and different things, because it even furthered my desire to create something of my own. So instead of, scrapping the characters, I actually took the same concepts I made for them. It was just the concept of race, not everything else. I created like the clothing, the abilities. I created everything else, but I just kept the same timeline. Just put them in the world of Undertale. So that's what started to me making the data book. Now I am making the light novel, which is starting on the first character I created for Lordverse is called Hibaro. His ability is called Wonder. I'll give a rundown. Wonder is basically the ability to nullify or basically delete all events in time that basically will cause harm to him. So basically think of shooting a bullet, but when Wonder activates, it will delete the bullet out of time, but also replace the same person, or basically get rid of the person who shot the bullet to where they didn't shoot the bullet, basically removing that whole situation itself out of time. And Wonder releases a wave of red distortion, which gives everyone in a couple mile radius or in the range of an entire kingdom confusion. So anyone currently doing something, they would forget what their objective was or their current thought process. And the main target, the one who attacked Hibaro, would be forgotten and basically have no ill intent or know who Hibaro is anymore to cause harm to him ever again. If it all restarts, and like say in the perspective of the same person who shot him, if someone else teaches someone about Hibaro again, then yeah, they could do it again, but that moment in time and that situation is just completely gone. That's its simple form. But besides that, I started off with the data book first. Why? So I can write my concepts down, so I can keep note of things. So I just eventually made it a data book, so I have something to create, so I know what to put in my book. Some people, well, probably most maybe, would start with the book first, but I started with the data book because I want to officially know what I wanted to create for myself and add to the book. And so, story-wise, lore-wise, I myself am actually in the book, same name, Glenn, but before currently, story-wise, there's a realm, or basically reality before this, called the biblical world. The biblical world was basically, just think of back then with Christ. Most of this is from Christ. I started this because of the Bible, because I had an inspiration of it, because the Bible is a book. So that's why I thought of it. So back then, I was the angel of creation, and now, but I did keep the same concept of creating different things. I just had the duty of watching creation and adding to it if God said so. If He said to add something to the fig trees or to add something to the world itself or the universe, that was my job. I was to add it or remove something or watch physical creation, and that creation was humanity. And so some of that, yeah, Lucifer still was kicked out of heaven. He was still strucken down, and that was the start of evil. But to go back to the biblical world itself, it is the world, it is basically the world of a lot more magic power, but also more of peace. So think of it as a realm of peace, but more magic power and lots of unknown stuff. A lot of people use holy or demonic type powers, depending on who you're talking to. Well, back then, of course. But it was a lot more mysterious age. So think of dark fantasy medieval, but biblical. So that's how the biblical world back then, and I was the angel of creation, and Lucifer was casted out. But at the same time, my creations, basically my God characters I made, still existed within that time. I just never acted on them. Now, what I mean by that is I asked God, well, back then, me as an angel, for permission to create my own thing, to be a God of my own creation, since I have a very much love passion for art. And so eventually I did get permission to do so from him. And I did exactly that. And that, well, lore-wise in the story, that's how Lordverse came to be. And so I kept all three verses I made: Unlimited, Thorn, and Soul. So I made all of them infinite expanding omniverses with their own sectional planes. And then I did overlap and recreate everything else within the reality. And so that's when I became and got my power of the author god. And that's when it all starts. And so basically, book-wise, so basically, just to say again, I got permission from God himself to do this, because he loves my passion of art, and of course angels can do what they want, but get permission from God. Of course, if a half of angels follow Lucifer and rebelled against God, then of course angels can still rebel. But of course, in simple terms, they could probably ask for stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like asking your parents for some money. But that's not important. So basically, that's what I did. And so I created the infinite reality, like it's infinitely layers. Now I mean like infinite, I mean like above what infinite means as itself, as a whole. And so like there's literally no end. I mean there's 3 omniverses, but in those omniverses, each omniverse is more infinite than infinite. It's like infinite in 1, infinite in 2, but like infinite in infinite, if that makes sense. Infinite in infinite expansion. That goes for all. Sorry, stop recording. But that goes for all the omniverses. That goes for all of them. And outside of them, it's just more reality. Like it's just more reality, more space, more worlds, and more galaxies, universes that can be expanded on, be found, more human life or new entities, new creatures still yet to be discovered. And so currently in the story, if I think back in the light novel, he maybe just a little spoiler, it starts in a place where Hibaro Hibaro's family was killed by the Bolkesh cult. Now, the Bolkesh cult is a cult of people that follows one of the entities in the first data book. I'm making a remake, aka FYI, called the Runadir, but it's also called I Scream with No Mouth, See Without Any Eyes. Basically, it's an entity that has no real form, but has a form of distortion and a spinal cord called the Valkchus mark that infects people and gives them the power of sorrow. And the power of sorrow grants the user of death, basically a host, aka a spine, is what it's called, the power of sorrow to grant them any desire that they wish, nearly granting them whatever they need in the moment, and increase of power, and using aura manipulation to actually fight against people or get what they want, or even mind control people to influence them to join the cult itself. Now, there's 3 different cults. Now, the main one is, of course, the Bolkesh, but all 3 of them are called the Bolkesh, even though they all have different names. So 1 is the Bolkesh, 2 is the Chrono cult, and 3 is the Holy Fear. The Bolkesh kills people. Any person, any being, kills anyone who they can, and gives their emotions, joy, ambitions, and desires all to the Rundir. It gives all of it to them. And so, the Chrono cult is basically, they spread joy. They spread good. They spread good news, faith, and everything else. But they also give gifts. That's one of the main things. They give gifts to people who are in need. But with those gifts, you have to give something back in equal return. Now, the Chrono cult can almost give you anything, but you would have to give back something in return of that same amount of worth. The same amount of worth. That can be, one-sided and evil and greedy at sometimes, because sometimes, well, maybe rarely in the book, well, of course it's not in the actual book right now. Well, I know it, I'm the author. I know how they act. But sometimes they probably would scam people. But most of the time, 99% of the time, that doesn't happen. And then there's the Holy Fear, which is the most nice and kind out of all the cults by a long shot. The Chrono cult is in the middle. The Holy Fear is just evil, and they know it too. But they say it's the good people need. And the Holy Fear actually spreads good healing and protects different kingdoms. And they go to kingdoms giving gifts, but also protect them from some other cults as well, probably even the Chrono and Bolkesh. But they also use holy power to heal people, but also grant them blessings, which is probably the best cult out of all 3 of them. And so the Bolkesh cult, actually, like I said, ends up killing all of Hibaro's family. Well, not all of them, besides his little brother. And so, since he's so devastated by that, and he couldn't use wonders, since Rundir's ability is to, if I shorten it up, is to change, it's basically change space. And I'll give an explanation on different entities later. I'll make an entity log video. But basically, he basically countered Wonder. Now, Wonder is basically not counterable. Basically, you have to universe snipe him. You have to be outside of the world, outside on a different plane to even hit Hibaro. Or if you're just really, really much stronger than him, to overpower time itself, or something within fate and time and space, of course. So, but the Rundir had, since he was in a different plane, but also can use his powers that spawn. They can travel, but they mainly can just spawn on you. They can just spawn on you, dude. So basically, since it could spawn, it basically canceled out his abilities and their functions, so he couldn't do anything about it. Now, yeah, he's a divine human. I'll get into that later, but I'll make a race log too, make a race video on those. But a divine human, basically think of a better version of a human, like a way, way holy version of a human. Think of a god, think of a demi-human, but its own race if you want to. Like, that's optional. But even with his physical power, he was weak to stop the Bolkesh cult because they were protected by the Rundir, aka Ice Cream with no mouth, see without any eyes. And within the next chapter, he actually meets my son. Well, in the book, I created a clone of me that is basically a sidekick. He's the start of all sidekicks. And he didn't get my power. He didn't get my author power because I removed it from him. And even if he did, he still wouldn't be as strong as me because I could do whatever I want. Now, I do have specific abilities, and I do lower myself to compare to my own deities I created and go par on par. But also to feel more humane, like I can connect with them, like connect with my characters on a deeper scale. And so I like to do that, so it feels like they have a chance, like say in fights, they have a chance to win, even though I could just blink and they're just gone, like gone from existence. Most likely if I do choose so. And some characters, like River, probably like the strongest god I made, could actually rebel, could actually challenge me. But that's for later. The main gods are for later. But what was I saying? Oh, but the rune deer stopped all of his plans, and so he watched his family die by his brother. And so his brother was taken away, and so that caused the Night of Despair, I'm pretty sure. The Night of Despair, which is where basically he had a self-awakening inside him that I probably didn't put in the book, but a self-awakening inside of him that unlocked, well, a deeper destructive power within his ability Wonder. Now he does go and try to find them, and he does hunt them down, and he sees them or hears them within the kingdom. Being a divine human, he hears them across the whole kingdom, where he could, because he's looking for them, but unactively looking for them in the right place. And so within that moment, out of a fit of emotion, he does take action on the cult and tries to kill them. But of course he needs information, but he didn't think of that at the time, which I'm pretty sure that moment in time he had such a level of power that it caused an event. Now every color that existed on the world, existed around the world, or just in that area, turned red, just straight red and black, like all colors, just straight red and black, which is called the Celestial Bloodfall event. I'm pretty sure. And well, that's basically it. I'm not going to spoil anything else. I'm not going to say too much. That's basically where I'm at now. But future-wise, the Book of Drawl, aka the Book of Giants, has a lot more information, and that's going to be talked on later videos. I don't want to spoil too much. I don't want to give too much information, of course. I want people to actually hook in and have interest, but of course I need to give some sauce, give some spices to it. But yeah, that's all I have for today. That's all I have for tonight. And if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Thank you for staying here, actually. Thank you for even taking your time to even watch this video. I know I get low amounts of views, like probably no one's gonna see this, but if someone's watching it, I really appreciate you.